Welcome to the April 29th, 2016 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web-exclusive production here on Channel 12. Let's get a quick take on the updates from the presidential contest this week. We saw major wins by both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton winning 4 of the 5 states in the primaries this week, and you saw Bernie Sanders actually announcing some staff layoffs in Indiana following that and some changes to his campaign. Pat Cahoon from Westward, among all the different things we saw in the national races this week, what stood out to you most?
Well, the fact that we are no longer seeing John Kasich at all. I mean, and of course, Cruz basically said he's not running in Indiana, even though he is, but he seems to have disappeared from the field. Suddenly, we are also now seeing Jane Sanders, who wasn't out that much, but she was giving a lot of interviews yesterday and the day before. So it looks like Bernie is also playing the woman card.
David Cope of the Independence Institute and DU Law School. We've heard a lot about what's going on the Republican side of the coin, where establishment versus Donald Trump and all that back and forth. But what about Sanders and Clinton, and how Clinton is still going to need to heal a pretty significant rift in the Democratic Party? Is she up to it?
Yes, she has the advantage of not having any fixed ideological beliefs, and you can see over her past 30 years she's been on every side of issues such as gay marriage or free trade or tough on crime or, oh, the poor criminals, they're victims of discrimination. It's all, she can be all things to all persons. Bernie's had a very successful campaign. Ironically, you know, he, by the way, was flirting with the idea of running against Obama as a protest candidate back in 2012 because Obama hadn't lived up to his promise, and he's tapped into, despite the, you know, I'm the light bringer 2008 campaign, there's a lot of people who felt let down, dissatisfied. They're worse off economically than they were before, and Bernie's tapped into that. Now, the ironic thing, well, and so he's moved the party much closer to being a traditional European, overtly socialist party, as Donald Trump is perhaps transforming the Republican Party away from being the party of Lincoln and McKinley and Eisenhower and Reagan into being a right-wing nationalist, populist, big government party like the National Front in France with Marine Le Pen and others. The media is so consistently stupid on all coverage of presidential races, and whatever they're talking about, they can only talk about the squirrel they saw 30 seconds ago. What, of course, and Trump exploits that brilliantly. But the squirrel they saw 30 seconds ago was Trump had a great election night in the Northeast, and so they're now saying, oh, he's got it almost all wrapped up. Well, you look at the calendar from here on out, there ain't many good states for Trump coming forward. According to 538, Nate Silver's thing, which has been outstanding in its predictions. Not always perfectly right, but they're about the best source you can go to, because they not only look at the polls, but they factor in the reliability of past polls and the particular company's techniques and things like that. They give Cruz a 58% chance to win Indiana. Cruz wins Indiana. The rest of May looks awfully bad for Donald Trump. It's states like Nebraska, the Dakota, and on, where he's done very poorly so far. And then it all comes down to California. And the fact is, Carly Fiorina is at least popular with California Republicans and also knows a lot of really rich people in California. So Cruz is going to be able to fight that one out, and Cruz could come away with, California's done by districts. You know, so it's all who wins each district, not who wins the overall statewide. He could come out well, and despite what you think from listening to Sean Hannity's fanboy show on Fox, Trump still has a lot of challenges on the way to getting either to 1237 or close enough to 1237 where he can, as he thinks, give people a free weekend at Mar-a-Lago and buy their vote.
Eric Sonman, political analyst. We see a lot of the drama back and forth on the Republican side, the possible contested convention in Cleveland and everything about that. It seems like it's finally a fait accompli for the Democrats. But how much work does Hillary need to do to bring back that camp of Bernie Sanders voters that some say are angry enough to either potentially vote for Trump or to at least not vote at all?
Yeah, I don't know how many vote for Trump. I think the real danger is they sit on their hands, they sit on their checkbooks, they don't get out and talk to their neighbors across the back fence. I've been stunned recently, and just in some anecdotal conversations with friends who have felt the burn. They're in Bernie's camp, and they're adamant that they will never pull the lever for Hillary Clinton. Now, it's one thing to say that in April. It's another thing to say that six and a half months from now in October or 1st of November. But there does seem to be, as David professes it in strong words, a lack of trust in Hillary Clinton, and certainly a lack of motivation for Sanders people to get on that bandwagon. I guess I have two main takeaways from the Democratic race. We can talk about the Republican race, but that gets plenty of airtime, so let me focus on the Dems here. One is the difficulty that Hillary Clinton has had, the surprising difficulty in my mind, in dispatching with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is never going to be confused with Barack Obama. This was not 2008. Everyone knew Hillary was going to have some opponent. Somebody was going to put their hand in the air and say, I'm running against you. You're not going to have a coronation, even though everyone thought it would be a coronation. But this has been much more of a long slugfest, a drudgery of a process than Hillary or her people anticipated. And I do think it shows her political weakness. This is not a country clamoring to elect her president. We're probably going to elect her president just because the Republicans have failed to present a viable alternative who is electable. But that's not the direction the country necessarily wants to go. Secondly, there's a school of thought, and I think I subscribe to it, that Bernie said that Hillary Clinton might be winning this battle, i.e. the nomination, i.e. the White House. It's not a small battle. But that Sanders might be winning the war, which is the long-term battle for the heart and soul of the Republican Party. And post-Hillary, once the Clintons finally ride off into that sunset, this might be a Democratic Party that resembles Bernie Sanders a lot more than it does Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Kristen Wyatt, reporter with the AP, thank you for joining us. Let me piggyback on that thought from Eric about the Democratic Party. You're around all the state lawmakers throughout the session. We've heard about the kind of drama from the Republican side, what it's going to be like to have Donald Trump at the top of the ticket. But are there some Democrats worried about the rift that is in the Democratic Party, and Colorado being a Bernie Sanders state?
Absolutely. And to pile on everybody's point, I'm going to cheat sheet here. There was an excellent New York Times analysis this week about not the 1%, but the 20%, the upper 20% and the lower 20%, where a generation ago the upper 20% was pretty consistently Republican voters, the country club, tennis, golf crowd, and the lower 20% were pretty consistently blue-collar Democratic voters. And you're seeing very interesting trends where you're seeing wealthier people subscribing to, like he said, the socialist ideas, income distribution from Bernie Sanders, and you're seeing a lot of the Trump folks. And it's not the country club Republicans that are the Trump folks. It is the blue collar folks who have seen their jobs go to China and seen the factories and the mills close. So it's really, I think, for the party is going to be a really interesting dynamic of how does the Democratic Party, which has traditionally been the working man's champion, change with the wealthier people that are identifying with them, and how does the Republican Party change as they go forward?
That's all the time we have for Colorado Inside Out postgame this week. Leave us a comment and tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.